Folks, David Fine here from Watch Your Lip. This is our Fast Fish beach fishing series where we're going to teach you all that we've discovered on how to be a successful beach fisherman. So today we are going to talk about what type of lead sinkers to use. And Dave, what is this? That's a lead sinker. We're going to tell you all about what this is. And why do we use this? Why do we use this? When do we use them? Guys, stay tuned. We're going to talk about sinkers today. All right. All right, folks, when you are targeting a specific species of fish from the beach, your choice in sinker is very, very, very important. And there's a lot of factors that will go into choosing which lead sinker that you'll use. How many ounces? What style, weight? Why are there all these different styles? Like, what's the deal with this thing? Okay, well, there's a lot of that goes into it. But guys, our general rule of thumb is that when you're fishing, you try to use as little tackle as possible. So as less weight as you can possibly use, the better. Unfortunately, when you're beach fishing, you're fighting the 3 W's, the wind, the waves, and the weeds. And unfortunately, sometimes you just need more weight to be successful. And so we're always fighting these conditions. We're always trying to find the balance on how to be successful. And we're going to give you a few tips to show you how to do that. So if you're fishing for large fish and you have a tarpon, 100-pound tarpon jumping on the end of your line, and you have this attached to your line, and this keeps doing this on your line. What that's going to do, guys, it's going to eventually start to fray your line. It's going to start to weaken your line. And if you're fishing for sharks, you're fishing for tarpon, and you're constantly battling these big giant fish, you're going to run into challenges using big weights like this. So the less the better. However, how do we hold our bait down out there when we kayak the bait out and hold it down? Guys, here's the deal. I use these even when shark and tarpon fishing, and you do lose fish, but it's really the best way to get them out there. So how do I select the best weight for what I'm about to do? Well, the first thing you got to know is how much weight your line can handle. So your pound test has a lot to do with how much weight you can handle. If you're using like a 10 to 15 pound test, which is a very light line, you don't want to go more than 1 or 2 ounces of weight. Because if you put a weight like this and you're using 10, 12 pound test, it's going to snap the line when you try to cast it, and you're going to be very frustrated and you're going to lose very expensive lead weights. Okay, so 10 to 12 pound test, you don't want to go over 2 ounces. This is a 1.5 ounce egg sinker. That's about as much as you want to go. Probably still too heavy for a 10-pound test line. So if you're going up to 20-pound test, if you have a 20-pound test outfit, you can go up to probably a 3 or 4 ounce weight. And I like the pyramid sinker model or the shape. And the reason being is the pyramid sinker, they've got these neat little wire eyes up at the top where the line can fit through, but they tend to hold the sand better. The corners hold the sand pretty well, and they just make for a nice weight. I tend to like pyramid sinkers the most. If you're going up to a 30-pound class outfit, you can go up to a 6 ounce. Okay, so I have actually 6 ounce pyramid when I fish my jig masters, my speed masters, my conventional reels. I use a 6 ounce weight, and I can really launch them. I can throw them the rods 100 yards with a 6 ounce banker sinker. So yeah, so I can launch these guys quite a distance, and this weight will hold on the bottom fairly well. Okay, so it's a very good weight to use. And obviously, if you're going heavier, if you got a 40-pound test, you can go heavier. But you know, it all depends on what your 3 W's are doing: your wind, your waves, and your weeds. If you're fighting a lot of that stuff, you got a lot of wind, you got a lot of waves, you got a lot of weeds, you're going to need either heavier weight, or you can upgrade to one of these fancy Sputnik weights. And these are a little more expensive than I'd prefer to pay. These things are like $5-6 a piece. This is actually an 8 ounce Sputnik weight. Some people call them breakaway sinkers, and here's why. So when you cast these out and they go down into the sand, these wire spikes actually catch in the sand. And they hold a lot better than any other weight, because not only are you dealing with the weight of the lead, but these spikes actually catch in the sand and hold it a lot better. So if you have a lot of current, these things are phenomenal. Now, it stinks when you lose these because they're expensive, but here's what happens. When the fish hits, these things, these wire things, break away. Well, these are a little corroded now, but you get the point. So these things are supposed to break away, and maybe I'll use a smaller one. So these Sputnik weight, these wire prongs are in the sand. When the fish hits, these things break away, okay? And so the fish hits and this breaks away, it releases the weight, and now the weight is just kind of tagging along. Now, like I said, if your fish is jumping a lot, this thing is gonna be flopping around. I like to put these guys on a snap swivel like this. So while you're fighting the fish, these guys actually will ride up the line a little bit, and you can take your snap swivel and take your weight off while you're fighting the fish, so you can not fighting with the weight as well. But that's, hopefully you get that far in your fight. But when you get a fish jumping and you got your Sputnik weight, that can be a challenge. When you're fishing a sabiki rod, this is looks like a 1/2 ounce sinker, and we've got these little wire thing on the top there, and this is a great egg sinker, or a great sinker to use with a sabiki rod. So you can tie, or you can clip your sabiki right onto the eyelet and be happy. Great weight for a sabiki. Egg sinkers, guys, here's an egg sinker. Now, if you have the egg sinker, what does the egg sinker do? By nature, it rolls. And so if you have wind and waves, it's gonna do this, and that can actually tangle up your line. So unless you're holding your rod, like I tend not to use the egg sinkers. I tend to use the pyramids because they lay more flat. They're a lot less likely to roll around and tangle stuff up. So that's pretty much what I've got in the way of sinkers. Okay, guys, what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you kind of like the basic rig that we'll use with these pyramid sinkers. Okay, this is called a slider rig. And it looks really complicated because I got a bunch of beads up there, but don't let that fool you. All that really is are just a bunch of beads to make it look fun and keep the weight from going up over the top of the swivel. So this is called a slider rig. Now here's your hook, all right? And this is a big hook with a big leader. This is for a big bait. Okay, so let's say you're tarpon fishing. You're tarpon fishing and you've got a ladyfish on here, and your tarpon grabs the line and starts to run. Okay, now this leader is going to come here. Now, what you want to do, this is called a slider rig, and what the purpose of this is, you have your hook, your leader, then your swivel, and then you've got at least one bead. I've got a number of beads here. And the reason that you put a bead on there is to keep the weight from going over the top of the swivel. So that weight is stopped there, and now the weight actually slides on this rig, and that's called a slider rig. And here's why we do that. Because as the fish hits, the weight's sitting there, okay? Now listen to that. The weight's sitting on the ground. It's a bad example. But the weight's sitting on the ground, the fish is pulling it out, and it's not feeling the tension of the weight. That gives you the opportunity. You hear the clicker. That's the sound that everybody loves. That gives you the opportunity as a fisherman to run over, put your reel in gear, set the hook, and start fighting your fish. Now, what I like to do, I like to put my weights on a snap swivel, and I'll run the line right through the eye of this top swivel, and then what I'll do is I'll snap my weight down here with the snap swivel. And here's why. Because when you're fighting a big fish, this thing is starting to ride up the line, and a lot of times this becomes exposed And what you can do is you can run right over and you can take this weight and slide it off. Now you're fighting the fish with no weight at all. Plus, when you go home at night, you can unclip all your weights and you don't have these big clinky weights clanking on your rods and scratching up your rods. So that's very important. And that's a basic rig that I use for a lot of things. I love the slider rig, guys. It's a great rig. It's very universal for most either pier fishermen or beach fishermen. And I strongly suggest tying this rig. Again, you got your hook, you got a 4-foot leader, you got your swivel right there. Then I attach your swivel to a bead, okay? And that keeps the weight from crashing over the top of your swivel. So this weight will never crash over the top because this bead is stopping it. So guys, I hope you learned something. Hopefully you're able to see what I'm talking about here. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So these leads are very expensive. We got to try and take care of them. And hopefully we're not leaving too many of them out there on the bottom of the ocean. But guys, very important tool for a beach fisherman. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Hope to see you out there on the beach and ripping lips, guys. God bless. Take care. Watch your lip.